Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
Welcome back to the show. I love when I start my warm-up and then he points at me. I'm like, John!
You were halfway through the what?
Yeah, welcome back to the show.
Follow the producer.
Yes. We have an awesome show happening today. It's a subject that touches everybody, and we are discussing energy. Energy and real estate in Houston, which this is like the energy capital of the United States. So it's a fun subject, and my bill goes up every year at this time. Obviously, I'm interested.
Oh, I would agree.
You're going to get an audit now, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
And let me tell all of our listeners, if you have questions about energy efficiency, give us a call. We are live, 800-808-5548. We want to hear from you. You can call in, ask all of our guests a question live. It's great stuff to do.
Well, we've got some awesome guests in. Arcadio just finished talking. He's still here in the studio from Reliant. So, folks out there, if you got questions about energy and what's happening there, you want to talk to an expert, Reliant's in the studio. We're definitely taking y'all's calls. And we've got another guy here that's going to share some knowledge with us from a major builder here in town. Why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Chris Frederking. I'm with MHI Home Builders. And just so everybody knows who MHI Home Builders is, we own Plantation Homes, Coventry Homes, Wilshire Homes, and Carmel Builders. Those are our brand names. You mentioned this time of year your electric bill going up.
Skyrockets.
Yes, absolutely. And
makes like a shuttle.
Well, we are in Houston. This, as a builder of very energy efficient homes, this is actually, when I was selling, one of my favorite times of year. A lot of people are complaining about electric bills being high this time of year, and I always got calls from homeowners that were actually ecstatic about how low their electricity bills were still this time of year, while many of their neighbors were complaining about high electric bills. One of the things we do as an energy-efficient builder, we are an Environments for Living Platinum-level builder, which allows us to actually guarantee the heating and cooling costs on our home per month. And as Arcadio said, heating and cooling is about 60% of your total electric bill. We have homes, just to give an example, a 3,000-square-foot one-story home that we actually have a guaranteed heating and cooling cost of $67 a month.
Good night.
That is amazing.
It is.
67.
With my windows open in the middle of winter, I don't know that I've seen a $67 bill.
So it is something that that you can do something about other than changing the weather. When we find the technology to do that, we will work on that side too.
We have the technology.
You know, an energy efficiency.
And the NSA is listening, so I won't talk about it.
The thing I said about our harsh summers is that's how we keep the weak ones out. If they can't survive
That's
our
right.
summers,
I like that.
If it was nice around here, we'd have 20 million people
That's
in
right.
the metro area.
We have like the best bang for the buck real estate in the United States, if you ask me. I mean, I went to Hawaii and stayed with some friends out there one time. There was 3 families living in an 1,100-square-foot house. And they were each paying like $800 a piece. I mean, It was just an insane amount of money, and I didn't even want to talk about the house I was staying in. It's like a mansion, compared to what they've got. So we have amazing home prices. Rob's right. If the temperature was nice, if it was like California, we'd be paying 5 times the price for our houses. So filters out the weenies. I like it.
But Chris, I want to ask you a question. We're talking about energy. Energy efficiency also goes beyond just what you're paying on a monthly energy cost. Talk a little bit about how you build your homes. Talk a little bit about some of the energy efficiencies that you do in your homes as far as, standard double pane windows, et cetera out there.
Sure, and the windows are a big part of it. That is one of the main sources of heat intrusion into your home. We use a double pane window, obviously. A big thing that a lot of builders overlook in trying to be that lower price per square foot, they use aluminum windows instead of the more expensive vinyl windows. If you think about trying to cook an egg, are you going to cook it on a piece of metal? You're going to cook it on a piece of vinyl. You're not going to cook it on the vinyl because it's not going to transmit as much heat. So if you look around your home and think about how many window frames and how much metal that is in those aluminum windows, that's transferring a ton of heat into your home. So we use a vinyl window frame so it doesn't transfer as much heat into the home. So that's one of the big points. The other big point of heat intrusion is through the attic, obviously. Arcadio talked about how hot your attic is. One of the things that we do that most builders do these days is including Tech Shield standard on their homes. That keeps the temperature of the attic space down, which means that air that's being transferred through those ducts, even once they are 21 years old, they're going through a cooler space. One of the best analogies I've heard of that is if you think about sticking a tube through your oven and you're trying to run cool air through there, well, the cooler that oven is, the cooler that air is going to be coming out the other side.
That's a good analogy. Yep. That makes sense.
So anything you can do to keep that temperature down in the attic is going to help you.
You know, and I love your reference to cooking, because let me tell you, Chris is a phenomenal cook. So I'm sitting here right now, and I'm listening.
You're thinking about my ribs, aren't
that.
you?
Yeah, and I'm thinking about the ribs, and I'm thinking about all the fishing you do, and how that fish looks really good that you cook.
You see where our minds are.
Yes.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Never
Always
far
on
from food. Yeah. This is all about real estate and food.
Right.
Well, if we keep your electric bills low enough, you can afford to buy a lot more ribs and a lot more fish.
There you go.
Keeping with the theme of the show.
Okay,
That is
so my house is a great example here.
Sure.
We're using this as the point of reference. At least I am, because I'm selfishly motivated. So you were talking about keeping the attic cool. I mean, literally was looking at, since this was the subject of the show, and because my wife had me go up in the attic and get some random object a couple days ago, and I about passed out while I was up there. What is the best bang for the buck? Is it a tech shield? Is it putting better insulation? Is it putting in an attic fan?
Insulation is another big key. It's another one of those things that we do go the extra mile on, where most builders are using an R30 insulation, which is the measure of the amount of insulation in your home, in your attic. We do an R38 level. And basically it's just putting a bigger blanket on your home to help keep that cool air into the home.
Is there a point in, I go in and I have just the standard bare roof, plywood, all that stuff showing, like I've seen every attic in my life. Is there a point in putting insulation on that? I've somewhat read about that. I've also then the Tech Shield stuff that you mentioned.
The biggest thing you can do on an older home like that wasn't built with Tech Shield is there's a spray-on version of Tech Shield that's available that sprays on just like a paint. It is not quite as effective as the actual attic decking that is done during original construction of the home, but it can considerably reduce the amount of heat in your attic.
That's mind-blowing to me. Spraying a paint on underneath the roof actually helps keep out the heat.
Well, and you also have a spray-on insulation you can a lot of times do up in the attic, especially in the older homes. We don't have that individual on, but that's something that's pretty interesting also. I've gone into homes that have actually done that and dramatically reduced the heat up in the attic based upon that, and consequently obviously reduced the amount of energy being consumed inside the house.
So if I'm the guy with the 91 house and 22-year-old house, and I'm sure
you should sell it and come buy a Coventry or Plantation home right now.
Perfect.
Nice.
I know a guy can give you a good deal.
I happen to know a guy.
My wife has already hit me with that, so it's on the radar.
You have my card, right?
Yeah.
Now, Chris, I'm going to talk about spraying foam. I've heard mixed reviews on that. Is that something that you utilize in your homes?
It is not. There's several different systems for creating an energy efficient home. That is one approach to it, is the closed attic. One of the things that we focus on is the total system of a home, and that is how we achieve our energy efficiency levels. The spray foam is a different way of going about it. It's actually closing in your attic. We choose to insulate the home from the attic and then ventilate the attic with the use of air hawks, vented soffits.
What I've noticed, some people come from other states, and especially if someone comes in from California and tries to build here, they think they're going to build an airtight house. In Houston, if your house doesn't breathe, you're going to be breeding mold and all sorts of things.
Right.
Absolutely. The way that
I got a head shaking over here in the gym.
Yeah, the way that we build our homes is designed to control the amount of moisture in your home, not necessarily completely eliminate it.
Well, fenestration, that's how much air passes through the house itself. There are places and limits. It's just that we accept here a high fenestration, which is really combats energy efficiency. So it's a case where you can get a house very tight. What you have to do is introduce air other ways. Like in our house, we'll use a furnace that's 95% energy efficient. We won't pull air from the house or from the attic. We pull it from outside. Same way with air conditioning, because you have to introduce air.
Yeah, it's a cubic foot per minute CFM.
It's the climate you're trying to create. Like in our houses, the attic is air conditioned. It's 2 degrees warmer than down. Therefore, you don't have to worry about the ducting. So it's a whole different product as far as that goes.
Wow.
Yeah, you do have a situation where you can make a house too tight, but you can introduce air from other areas from outside and clean it up.
They didn't put that in their calculations when they built, because it was actually a California builder came in here. They're building stucco homes. They were sealing everything. Of course, what happened with EFIS and things like that. They weren't. Nothing was breathing.
Yeah. I was on a board at the Greater Houston Builders Association about EFIS. It's just, again, a way of misusing something.
It was
should be
installation
against
that was the problem.
concrete. Yeah.
It was not the EFIS itself. It was how it was installed.
Well, and
it never should
oftentimes
go
what
against
happens,
wood.
and oftentimes what happens is other parts of the country have a way of building, but you have to build in the environment in which you live in.
Absolutely.
Houston is a very different environment. We Exactly, a very unique region. You know, we have a different climate, we have a high amount of precipitation and humidity, and then you have to build a home to be able to breathe. You cannot insulate it in because that moisture, as you mentioned just now, will get in there. It breeds mold.
I know
allergies,
nothing,
etc.
I know nothing about EFS, so
It's artificial stucco. But anyway, the
synthetic stucco.
When we get to Jim's segment, we're going to have a lot of questions. But he's absolutely right. It's about the air circulation. So anyway,
well, and that's one of the things that we do now that homes are being built so tight. And what he was getting at was the introduction of air into the air system from the exterior. That the home is so tight, you actually do have to bring in air through a fresh air intake because the homes don't breathe as much as they used to, which is a good thing. You do actually have to suck air in to keep the home from getting stale inside. And this is one of the things that we talk a lot more in depth about in our new home buyer seminars that we do. We have one about every 2 or 3 months to help people through the buying process. And we happen to be having one next Saturday, June 22nd, conveniently enough. And you can find more information on that at CoventryHomes.com or PlantationHomes.com. But we go into a lot of detail.
When was the date again on that?
Next Saturday, June 22nd.
Okay, this month. Okay.
What area of town are you doing it in?
It'll be on the northwest part of town, Beltway and Clay Road, basically, at our design center. People will be given an opportunity to tour our design center. We'll have a realtor there to help them with the process of selling their home. And it's a great presentation that just is purely educational towards walking people through the buying process.
What time is it? An all day deal?
Starts at 9 o'clock and goes till 12 o'clock.
It actually starts at 10 because that would conflict with our show.
Yeah.
We'll be playing your show for the first hour.
That's just like a warm up.
You can listen to the radio while you're at the open house.
That is correct. The first hour of the presentation will be based upon the Real Estate Rat Pack, by the way.
Absolutely.
There you go.